Well, hello. How are you guys doing? I wanted to show you before we get started. This is my karate shirt, my Go Shindu martial arts. I used to um, do it in Jersey, so I wanted to show you guys that because today we are going to be learning a lot about martial arts and Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I'm super excited for today. Okay, how are you guys all doing today? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's anything I should know of before we get started for class. Our first thing on the agenda is to go over our morning plan. So, as you can see, I made a couple different changes. Check it out. So up top, you'll see we have our art review, which is where we review everybody's artwork from the previous episode. Then we have our quote of the day, which is a great one for today. I think you'll really like it. You'll probably even know the person who I'm quoting. Morning mindfulness, where we take a minute to breathe and get into a great headspace to draw. Then we're going to go over water, earth, fire, and air, which if you're familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'll know what those mean. And then we're going to do our challenge of the day. Then we have our morning mail, and then I'll send you guys off with a challenge. Yeah. All right. Now, so for our art review, we got some good ones. This is really cool. For our last class, we did our journals and geniuses, if you weren't able to make it. And we went over some of the genius routines of some of the greatest minds in the world. And then we created our hourly comics for ourselves. And so we have Hadassah did hers, really awesome, along with a picture of Darth Vader you can see in the corner. And Hadassah, it looks like, okay, let's see, you woke up at 8:30 to 9 a.m. with your stuffed animal. Then from 9:30 to 10:45, you did school. 11 to 12, you drew. That's nice. 12 to 12:30 to 1, you had lunch. 1 to 4, virtual theater camp. That sounds awesome. And 6:30 to 6:45 to 7:30. Oh, 6:30, 6:45 to 7:30, you had dinner. Sounds like a good day. You got to do some school, some work, some fun theater camp stuff, and some drawing too. Although you do not look too happy to be waking up in the morning. That's usually what I look like. That's the expression on my face. But very nice job, Hadassah. And Zoe did an awesome one too. She even added some color. Zoe, very nice job. Let's see, 7 to 9 a.m. listening to my ebook, and drawing. That's a good way to relax your way into waking up. I like to do my planner in the morning too, and sometimes I'll put on a show while I work, just to kind of help my brain get started. 9 to 10 a.m. morning routine. Okay. Looks like you're cooking some eggs maybe or bacon. 10 to 11 a.m. art class. Woo, that's us. Which is, yep, we're right on time. 11 to 12, who knows what happened then. And then to 1. So even 12 to 1, we don't even have. So 1 to 2, though, daily writing. 2 to 3, video games with my sister. Looks like you guys are going at it pretty hardcore. 3 to 4 p.m., snack, and who knows what else. And then 4 to 5 is random stuff with friends, and it looks like plant care, or plant hug, is that what that is? Very nice. Audiobook, cool. What are you listening to right now in your audiobook? I've been trying to get into it, but I just for some reason listening to it doesn't seem to click with me. I get distracted too easily, I think. But very nice. If you guys want to send in your art review, you could send it in to noahfontana@gmail.com, or you could just message me on Instagram or tag me in a picture on Instagram. So if you draw something from this class and you post on Instagram, you just tag me. It's at teacher.noah. Then I'll see it and I'll include it in the class. Teacher Noah without the period, without the dot. That's some 9-year-old kid in Italy, I think. So don't tag it that. Make sure you tag the right one. All right. And our quote of the day is Muhammad Ali. Because I figured since we're doing martial arts, we're doing Avatar, and it's so heavily based in martial arts, it would be good to include that. Yeah, have somebody that was a fighter. And Muhammad said, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." And that was his famous quote that you've probably heard. But he also said, "I hated every minute of training," but I said, excuse me, "Don't quit, Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. Muhammad was a boxer, if you don't know. He was an activist, philanthropist. He was also a musician too, which I didn't realize. I just found that out. But he was known as the most significant sports figures of the 20th century. And he won a gold medal in the light heavyweight division in the 1960 Summer Olympics, which is awesome. And amongst like other awards that he won for doing boxing, he even received 2 Grammy nominations for his work as a musician after he retired from being a boxer. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, to what he said, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. So, what I really liked about it was that as we move into our like morning mindfulness, was that he knew when to pace himself. He knew when to exert a ton of energy, and he knew when to go slow, and he had that balance that he found. And I'm assuming that transferred over into the rest of his life as well, and we can do that too. So, as we take a moment to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, okay? Muhammad, close your eyes and take in this moment right now. So just feel very present in this moment. Feel the weight of your body on whatever you're sitting on or standing on. Feel like the air that's moving around you. Listen to all the sounds coming around you. Be present in this moment. Now, Muhammad taught us to know when to use our different skills, and when he spoke about floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee. He struck a balance of knowing when to fight and when to save his energy. And that's what floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee means, is that he's not always just tense as he's like moving around. He's keeping it light, keeping it airy as he's moving around, keeping it light, and then like staying like light on his toes. And then when he needed to attack and punch, then he would like attack and punch really strong like a bee. And so much of life is like this, and to try to be 100% one way all the time will leave us burnt out and unfulfilled. So if we're always trying to be like floating like a butterfly, then we're probably not going to be as aggressive as we need to in certain situations. And if we're always trying to sting like a bee all the time, we're also not going to learn when to like be calm and be a little bit more soft. Now, as we move forward to the next portion of class, I challenge us to try to find that balance in our own lives. Ask yourself in each moment, so like right now, we became present in this moment, ask yourself, what is the best approach to your drawing? Should you be staying loose, or is it time to dive into the details and do like a very sleek line? So there's multiple different ways that we can incorporate that, but that's just one example. All right, now let's get on to the drawing. So our first, guys, this is awesome. I'm so excited for this class. Our first subject is going to be water bending. Now, with water bending, here are some sketches of Katara. Now, we're only going to get to 4 characters today, but that's why we're going to have a part 2. So don't worry if we didn't get to your favorite character yet. Next Thursday, we're going to get to a lot more of them. Now, for today though, Katara. Now, she was a waterbender, which means that she can move water with her body and like her mind. And yes, waterbending. She was one of the first characters that you meet, and she learns gradually to get better at waterbending, because at the beginning she's not very good. And that's the same thing like any practice. Now, this is the symbol for waterbending, up top right there. And underneath it I wrote Tai Chi, because each of the bending styles in Avatar: The Last Airbender were inspired by real martial arts. So there are different schools of martial arts, just like how there's different ways that you can draw, there's different ways that you can fight and practice martial arts. So for Tai Chi, I figured it would be a good idea, before we draw somebody that does Tai Chi and does waterbending, we should learn a little bit about it ourselves. So instead of going right to the drawing, instead of having a karate break in the middle, I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about a few of the moves from each of the bending styles, so that way you can really feel the difference of all the characters, and that way when you draw it, that can come out in your drawing. Okay, so let's do some water bending. All right, ready? Here we go. Okay, now I want you to stand kiyosuke with your feet together. Now, lightly, slowly open your feet so that your legs are just about shoulder distance apart. Okay, now we're going to hold up your hands. Okay, and we're going to keep them open. Okay, now let them go down to your side like this. And we're going to open our arms like a bird. Okay, so you go rising up just like that. And then breathe in and then breathe out as you go down. Okay, breathe in. I'm going to move my hands like that way you can see them. Okay, here we go. So breathe in, and we can do, you could either do it from the side or you can do it forwards. I am by no means a Tai Chi or any of these martial arts masters, but I did take martial arts since I was like 7 into my 20s, so I know a little bit about the different kinds of martial arts. So here we go. So bring your hands up forwards and breathe in and breathe out. In. And let the water and let the air just fill up your lungs, almost like you're a big wave, okay? And this is literally how they teach you how to do Tai Chi. It's very, very up to the flow and the waves of the water. So breathe in and out. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a step forwards. And we're going to lean forwards. And as we lean forwards, we're going to push out slowly, okay? So you're going to bend your front leg and push out forwards. Good, okay? Now, I don't want you to step back, but I just want you to lean back so your front leg is straight. And as you lean back, I want you to go like this, okay? This is like the wave rising. So we push forward, ready? Breathe out, now breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in, good. Okay, and you keep on doing that, okay? And then that's kind of the gist of Tai Chi for a beginning part, okay? So, and you can take a step in either direction. You can go to the right, you can go push out, and then lean back. And then take a step with another foot, breathe out, and breathe back. And then take one more step in the other direction, breathe out, and breathe in. Okay? And that's the essence for a beginner's level of Tai Chi, is that we're trying to feel the motion of the waves. We're going very, very slow. It's not a very like fast, aggressive kind of fighting. We're going to get to that a little bit later. This is all about feeling the flow and letting go. Okay? All right, let's try to draw Katara now. And here we go. So if you guys, what I think would be kind of cool would be to draw her in one of the positions that we just learned. So let's try that. So I'm thinking we can do the push position, right? Okay. And right now I'm using the 6B pencil. Let's see. I'm going to start with a simple stick figure. Okay, here we go. Just sketching it in so we know exactly, like roughly where everything is. This is her shirt, little like waistband. Okay. I think we need to make her legs a little bit longer. There we go. Now, the reason I'm not focusing too much on like the details of the face right now is just because with the bending and the way they animated these characters, they paid a really close attention to the kinds of movements that they were doing and the martial arts they were doing. That's why I think is part of the reason why this show is still so popular, is because they were able to tap into other things, not just trying to make a cool fighting show or a cool show with special powers, but they were really trying to tap into real things that people have studied and real martial arts. All right. Now let's go over with some ink. Now for inking, I use a dry ink brush. Now there's this dry ink brush, which looks like that, and that's a little too rough for me. So what I did was here we go. I changed the consistency of the brush, so that way it's a little bit more smooth, as you can see. Just a little bit. That way it creates a little bit of cleaner of a line. We can do that. It's way too big. It's got little hair loopies. How did I change the brush? Okay, so I just tapped the brush right up here. Oh, how did I change oh, you mean like editing the brush. So you just tap on whichever brush you want, and then you tap on it again, and then you have different options. Okay? I think for grain, or maybe it's the flow, I think. For rendering and the flow, I maxed it out. I think if I did it like that, you see how it kind of fades? So you could change it, you can mess around with it like that. Honestly, there's a million and one different options for that, so you can just mess around and figure out which one actually works for you, because how I like it isn't necessarily going to be exactly how you like it, so I would suggest messing around with it anyway. Okay, and again, if you're using like pencil and paper, you can just trace over your pencil drawing. If you start with a pencil, then you can trace over it with ink. And that's why I do it this way, because that way anybody can use it. You don't need a tablet to do it. When I was in college, I used to actually do I never really used Photoshop or anything like that much in college. I used it to like edit and clean up some pictures, but for the most part, I would just draw it out and sketch out in pencil, and then I would ink over it with an actual quill where I would dip it in the ink, and then I would ink over it, and then once the ink had dried, then I would erase the pencil lines, and then that was how I did like most of my projects. But this is a lot easier for me to show you guys, so that's why I do it like this. And I don't have to worry about like running out of ink or cleaning the brushes or anything. Okay. There we go. Do any of you do martial arts? I don't think we asked that. I'm pretty sure some of you do. So we're just going to keep this nice and simple. Just kind of just throwing in the lines for the fingers. And it's like what I tell my students a lot of the times, that if you get the action line right, and you can get the flow of the character right, it really tends to work out best for the character, because then even if it doesn't look 100% accurate, it still feels like it's the right character, and your brain kind of like fills in the rest. Okay, here we go. And there we have Katara waterbending. You used to, your sister still does. Okay, cool. All right. And if we want to do the water, I believe I already did a class on drawing elements and rocks and stuff like that, so you could check that out. It was one of the first ones we did, and we made a sphere look like it was made out of water, and one made out of rock, one made out of fire. So I would check back into that to see a more detailed version of that, because right now we're going to move on to the next bending. Okay? But yeah, for right now, that's Katara water bending, and here we can even hide the sketch so we can see it. There we go. All right, cool. So our next is earth bending. And if you guys didn't guess it from the background, this is one of the earth temples. Now, for earth bending, they used a kind of martial arts called Hungar Kung Fu. This was a lot more intense and more strength-based than Tai Chi. This was not quite as fast as, say, like airbending or firebending, but this is very it's similar to Tai Chi, except that this one you're flexing, keep your muscles tense like the entire time. Okay, so for this one, we're going to start in a horse riding stance. So I'm going to tilt this down for a little bit. Okay, now the way they do it in martial arts is you take your heels and you move your heels out, and then you move your toes out, and you move your heels out, and you move your toes out like that. So we're going to do it like that. So kind of wiggle your toes out. There we go. Good. Okay. Now you're sitting in your horse riding stance. Okay. And we're going to start with the breathing technique. And we're going to go like this. Ready? So open your hands like this. Ready? And you breathe out. Okay. Now, when you do that, you want to breathe out what they call the chi energy. Okay, and this is the energy that allows you to make the most out of your movements and focus all your energy, so that you're not worried about your toes or your ear or your nose. You're just putting all your energy and all your focus into your fingers. Okay. Okay. Now, earthbending is not real, but it is based off of a real martial arts, where it kind of embodies the mentality and the movements of earthbending. Or I guess earthbending that models the mentalities of Hungar Kung Fu. Okay, so now the idea here is that you're flexing almost the entire time. So you're flexing your pecs, you're flexing your arms, your wrists. Okay, and you're breathing out very controlled. So you're going like that. Okay. Okay. You guys are funny. I'm not the avatar, although sometimes I am bald. So. Okay, so breathe out really strong and keep it really tight, almost like you're pushing against something really hard, okay? Even though there's nothing there, you're pretending that you are. So when you push it, you're going like that, okay? Right. Okay. I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, you can only bend one thing as far as I know, but there are importances of learning from different of the arts, okay? So just like how Aang needs to learn all 4 bending styles, even a waterbender can learn something from a firebender, and even a firebender can learn something from an airbender, okay? Just like how in real martial arts, that's why when I studied it, in my martial arts was Goshinju Karate, right? So this is my black belt. We learned that it's good to know a little bit of judo, a little bit of jujitsu, and a little bit of karate. So karate is a lot of like punches and kicks. Jujitsu is a lot of like wrist techniques and like pressure points kind of stuff. And then judo is grappling techniques where you're like holding on to them and you're getting the locks and you're throwing them like that. Now, I could have just learned one, but my teacher always taught me, and I agree, that it's better to have a well-rounded learning. That way, in any kind of situation, if you fight somebody that knows judo or you fight somebody that knows karate, you know a little bit of how they think and how you can defend yourself. So it's better to be well-rounded. Just like when I went to art school, I didn't just go to art school to learn one thing and how to draw illustrations. I learned 3D. I sculpted things out of wood and clay. We did oil painting. We did computer animation and computer 3D modeling. We did like traditional drawing. We did experimental collaging. We recorded videos. It's best if you know a little bit of everything, because then you can pull from all those different resources and incorporate them into you, and that makes you unique because now you have all these different things that you've learned. So if you're ever working at any kind of job, you can still learn something from there. If you're ever stuck with somebody in a room and you just have to hang out with them, there's always something to learn from them. And in that case, you can always be accumulating information and knowledge and wisdom, and that's just a good way to go about life. Okay, so earthbending, ready? Here we go. Breathe out, breathe in. Okay, now we're gonna circle our hands like this, pull them in, and then punch straight. Okay, and you keep it really tight. Okay, so breathe out, breathe in, circle, and a punch. Good. Circle and punch the other way. Okay? And that's very similar to earthbending. The entire time you should be sitting down in your horse riding stance. With earthbending, or actually with Hungar Kung Fu, very important to stay very grounded. Okay? That's like the key in earthbending and in Hungar Kung Fu. For both of them, it's exactly the same. You need to be able to feel safe and secure on the ground. So when you're sitting in your horse riding stance, don't just like sit there and be like, I'm just like, my weight is holding me down. Try to feel and try to like push your feet into the ground. It sounds kind of weird, but it is possible to do. So try to push your feet into the ground so that you really feel like you're like magnetized and you're connected to the ground. Almost like your feet are holding onto the ground, as if you were like holding onto like a tree or something with your hands. Okay, so hold your feet to the ground and then breathe in. Keep your whole body tight. Keep your thighs tight, your chest tight, and your arms tight. Ready? Breathe in. Hold it in. And out. Good. Breathe in. Like that. Okay. All right. Now that we've like flexed all those muscles, let's go on to drawing some earthbending. Okay. And we can do the same thing that we did with Katara. We'll draw Toph. This is the lovely Toph. And we'll draw her in one of the earthbending styles. Here we go. Okay. I think let's do her doing that one. I kind of like that pose. go. And of course, we'll give her the classic horse riding stance. And if you look, Toph, I mean, if you know anything about Avatar and you've watched the episodes with Toph in it, you know that she is always very connected to the ground. She's blind too, and so that's actually how she sees. They make it in the show that she can feel the vibrations in the earth, which is really kind of cool. Cool. There we go. Okay, we'll line this guy up, and we're going to do the outline with the inking brush. Okay, Toph is her name. Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys got it already. Very nice job. All right, and again, this kind of kung fu is right here, Hungar Kung Fu. And what's cool is that you can look up videos online of people doing these moves and motions, and you can actually learn a lot about each martial arts. And there's so many other ones. I mean, there's hundreds of different kinds. So Avatar didn't even like scratch the surface with these with all the styles that they did, but they did pick a lot of like really cool ones. Let's see. Yeah, Toph is a great character. She's spunky and independent, and even makes jokes about her being blind, which is kind of funny because she doesn't want people to like baby her or anything. Go, and then let's draw her arms. Cool. How you guys doing? And hopefully it comes out like this, the fighting style actually comes out in your art. Like if you looked, when I did Katara, I used like very flowy lines, right? Very flowy, like fluid, like water. And then for Toph, I'm using a lot more like angular lines and like kind of like jagged like lines like that. And that'll also give it the look that it's almost an earthbender, which is just kind of cool. I don't think they did that. I mean, it seems like their styles were pretty consistent, depending on regardless of if the character was an Earthbender or Firebender. But for our sketches, we can change the style up a little bit if you want. go. That one finger is way too long. And good. If you guys need a little bit more help or time with the feet, we just did a feet episode on how to draw um, all your toes and your ankles and stuff like that. So if you're struggling with drawing the feet, because I'm drawing them really quickly, definitely check out that episode. I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. All right. I think this foot is a little bit too angled inside, but we'll leave it for right now. Get rid of that back sketch, and voila. Yeah, that foot is definitely all wonky, but that's okay. Okay. Now, our next one. Are you guys ready for this one? Can you guess which one it's going to be? All right. Now, for firebending, okay, this one is called Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. Okay, and this one is a really, it's really cool. This one's probably one of the more popular ones. Tai Chi's probably right up there with it. If I was a bender, Zoe, if you're asking me, I think I would be airbending, and you'll see why in just a little bit. But for firebending is known for its like kicks and punches, jumps and leaps. It's very aggressive as opposed to say waterbending, which is a little bit more fluid and going with the flow. Firebending is more like aggressive. Now with firebending, it's very like dramatic. And there's a northern and there's a southern. The southern is known for its like legs and kicks and leaps. The northern is known for its like punches. So for northern Shaolin Kung Fu, that's what we're going to study. Let's go into our fighting stances, right? So really quick, we'll just start with 2 punches, ready? And then you broom your arms and then you punch to the side, boom, boom. Then you pull up, right? Put your hands up, put your leg up. And then you can kick at the same time as you punch, right? And then you land and you do punch, punch. So it's very aggressive, very, offensive. Kind of like that saying, a good defense is a good offense. Yeah. So let's try some of these moves, okay? Ready? So, and also it's a mix between not just straight punches, but it's a mix between pulling them in with the sweeping motion. So that's where you get the firebenders when they like throw their legs on the ground. It's like, and it explodes in fire. Okay, so let's do this. Ready? So pull your arms in, 1, 2. Then pull your arms into the side, 1, 2. Pull up, right? Bring your knee up really high. I'm trying to do it so you guys can see. Bring your knee up and then kick. And then as you land, so as you kick and you land, 1, 2. Then you pull up, kick to the other way, kick, and land 1, 2. Okay? And so that's the essence of firebending, Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. And let's just draw it, because I want to make sure we can get to everything. So here we have Prince Zuko. I know he's some of everybody's favorites. And you can see he's got the long stretches too. So that's part of it, is that when you do the punches, like with the, say with earthbending, you keep it fairly retained, right? Contained. You keep it all like very close to yourself, and you keep kind of like your guards up the entire time. You keep everything tight. With firebending, it's like you're reaching out and you're punching and kicking. Okay. And again, this is a symbol, Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. And let's draw it. I really like the part where you kind of like bring up and then you punch both in the hands. So let's try to do that punching scene. Okay. of course, we're going to draw Zuko. This might not be the version you know of Zuko. He might have like the top ponytail, but for right now, we're going to do this one. How many of you guys like Zuko the best? I know some of you do. You do know he's the bad guy, right? I'm also trying not to spoil anything either. Firebending is a little bit reckless, which makes sense because, I mean, or I should say, Shaolin Kung Fu might seem a little bit more reckless compared to other forms of martial arts because it's so aggressive. And that makes sense because he's not that bad. Because fire is so unpredictable and so explosive that it's hard to keep it under control. And when you're doing moves like this, that are so like drastic and like huge emotions, it's hard to control that the entire time. Okay. Let's go over this with the dark line. Again, we're using the dry ink brush. Hence also why Zuko's got that crazy burn on his face. Because firebending is so explosive and you can't control it all the time. And again, remember how we said that we were changing the different styles? For firebending, I'm kind of keeping it very like rough and sketchy because, and also using very dark lines, but keeping it very like almost like harsh because it's firebending, like it's supposed to be very aggressive. There we go. Let's see if we make the fist to be sometimes I forget which way the fingers are going to look, and so I have to like act out the motion myself. All right, there we go. There's Zuko. Cool. Okay. All right, last bending. I figured it would be nice to end on a nice, calm, peaceful one. So here we are in the air temple. Very nice. Now, air is actually very different than water. That sounds kind of silly to say, but when you think of the bending styles, you think that they would be very similar, but they're actually fairly different. Airbending is based off the martial arts Baguzang, Zang, and you'll see the, the spelling for that because I'm sure I butchered how to say it. And this one is actually very interesting because airbending is already a mix of those other ones that we just studied. It's a very collective martial art. It takes pieces of a lot of different studies and movements. So with airbending, there's some strength in it. There's some flow, like in waterbending. There's strength and strong stances, like in earthbending. And then there's some attacks and some confrontational parts of it, like in firebending. So it's funny that Aang is an airbender, and he's the avatar that's a mix of all of them, but his core one is an airbender, which is very collective of all the different arts. Yeah, like we were saying, it's important to learn a little bit from each one. So that's why I think I'd be the airbender, and I'll show you a few of the moves. So with airbending, not surprisingly, it's based off of doing a lot of like circular movements and kind of deflective movements. So they say that in airbending that you want to walk like a dragon, spin like an ape, change momentum like an eagle, and then you want to be fierce like a tiger. So you mix in all these different really cool body motions and movements into all one thing. And so, but at its core, airbending is kind of like an evasive attack where you're almost using your own opponent's weight against you. That was one of the cool things that I learned in martial arts was that I'm a tall, skinny dude, and if I fought somebody that was like shorter and bigger than me, it doesn't mean that one of us was going to be instantly better than the other. It just meant that we had to figure out a way to use our own strengths, which is the same way that I go about art. You know, I might not be the best artist when it comes to drawing, you know, like animals or something, but I have my own strengths and my own things that I like. Like I really like to draw details, so if I do draw an animal, I can focus on like the fur and the details of the hair and stuff, as opposed to getting like the motion of the animal. Now, for airbending or for Baguzang, what you want to do is you want to kind of uproot your opponent. So what they teach you is to avoid, right? So you do a lot of rotation kind of movements, and then you also kind of sweep underneath, and then you uproot. And you can see even from those movements, and even like this picture of Aang, you could see how he's kind of like uprooting and kind of ducking underneath and then popping up. So that's what we're going to do. Ready? So for airbending, we're going to start by taking a lot of steps. And that's the thing with air and with Baguzang, you're always moving. And so you're always moving your feet. So we're going to move around, right? You kind of circle around your opponent, right? You move your hands. Ready? And then there are moments where you kind of like rise up and you sweep under with your leg. So if you see my leg is doing like kind of like the Aang thing where it's stretching out, and then you come up here. So you stretch up and you come like that. There we go, just like that. So see if you can do that and use that ability to dodge and weave. So you stretch, squat down, and stretch your feet. So I'm not even moving my feet right now. I'm just changing my position, right? And then you can move around. You focus on the center, and then you can duck like this. Cool. And then again, you can use kind of like kicks, but a lot of it is like parries. Just like how we learned parry spear hand, you use a lot of like parries, which are kind of not attacks. So they're deflections. And by doing that, you can actually wear out your opponent a lot, and you can get them to the point where they get frustrated, and then they start slipping up and making mistakes, and then that's when you can do an attack. But it's a lot more patient approach to it. All right, let's draw. Man, that one got me out of breath for some reason. Okay, let's draw some Aang. You can see him in this pose right here. He's kind of doing that evasive kind of whoosh, dodge. And right here, you can see his feet are crossing over and moving because he's always moving and walking, just like how the wind is always moving. All right. Let's draw Aang. Let's see. I feel like kind of the pose that he's in will make him kind of like have his fist up. But not fists. Keep them open hands. And there's in an episode, Toph calls him Twinkle Toes because he's so light on his feet. So that's why I'm going to try to keep him on his toes in this drawing. All right. Now that we practiced all the different kinds of martial arts, which one was your favorite? Which one did you guys like the most to do? If you were to study a martial art, which one would you practice? Let me know. Okay. Let's draw him in now. Okay. And the last note, I guess, for how I'm drawing these is I'm drawing almost like water bending is more like fluid. For these, I'm using very light, kind of like lines like that. Whereas fire bending was like almost like angry lines, and earth bending was like sharp angles. You know, air bending is going to be very light lines, like, and not necessarily flowy, because flowy would be more like this, right? I'm using light lines, like wispy lines. Okay, almost done with Ang. And again, it's not really with the different with the different bendings. It's not about which one is better or worse. And it kind of reminds me of how we can like look at our emotions. It's not like if you were gonna give air bending is like joy, fire bending is anger, water bending is calm, I guess, or flowing. And earth can be like disgust. There we go. It's all about working all of them together to make a balanced approach to life, to fighting, to art, whatever it is. You're looking to make a balanced approach to whatever you're doing. Kind of like Muhammad Ali was saying, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You want to find that that balanced approach where you're using strengths from all different areas and you're using all of your strengths, not just relying too heavily on one kind of fight. So with Avatar, you'll see other characters in the show. They learn that learning from the different schools of art or martial art is the best approach, because then you learn things that you would never learn just from focusing on your one area. So our challenge for today is pick a physical pick a physical activity that you do, and I want you to try to make a bending style as if you were in the martial arts. So let's see, I like running, and that's a physical activity I do, or I really like swimming, or if you like bicycling or something like that. What would the martial art interpretation of that be? Or if you're like an artist, a visual artist, or I don't know if you like to do hacky sack or something. What kind of elements mixture could you make into that? And you can even look up different martial arts styles to see if that gives you some inspiration, if you really relate to some of them. There's one really funny, there's like martial arts called like the Kung Fu. Shaolin Kung Fu takes a lot from different animals, so they have like the crane stance where you're like not, that's a praying mantis stance. And then there's other ones where it's like drunken kung fu, which I think is really funny because you hold your hands like this and you act like you're drunk. And Jackie Chan does this a lot in his movies, where he's not actually drunk. I'm not advocating that you drink, especially at your age too. But what's really cool about his style of kung fu is that he acts like he's kind of like topsy-turvy and kind of like unbalanced, and he works that into the moves so that he can kind of take the upper hand and take the element of surprise on his opponents. 4 different strokes of swimming. Oh, that's kind of interesting, Isabella. Very nice. Yeah, 4 different strokes of swimming. Very cool. Okay. Our mail of the morning, our morning mail, is from our star student, Isabella. Very nice job, Isabella. This was one of the dogs that you did a while back, a couple episodes ago when we did dogs. I really like it. Thank you for sending it. And I love how simple it is. Not simple in that it's like done simply. Like the approach is simple, even though I know that usually a simpler style means that you have to put more thought into it. So very nice job, Isabella. Love it. And yeah, so if you guys want to submit your drawings, just submit it to noafontana@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram. Let me see right there. Find me on Instagram, and you can message me there. If you want to help support, we have a link down below, and you can just click there and donate. And that'll go to like more cool supplies and stuff. And soon we will be hopefully moving to the studio where you guys can come and visit and take a live drawing morning cartooning class while we do it live stream too. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe so that you don't miss the episode. It'll notify you when we go live then. That way, even if you don't have it on your calendar, it'll pop up. And then let me know what we should draw next. I have a lot of suggestions from you guys. So I have a couple weeks in advance already prepared. Our next episode, though, is going to be Avatar: The Last Airbender Part 2. So we're going to cover a lot of the characters that you guys said that you wanted to draw, but we didn't get a chance to today. Also, just fun fact, this is a concept art picture from a live-action Avatar that is in the works for Netflix. So it's different than that crappy live-action one that they did that nobody really liked. But this one is going to be a new one. Hopefully, it's going to be cast a little bit better, so it's not just all white people pretending to be different races. They're actually going to cast the correct races, so that'll be nice too. And yeah, so hopefully that gets made. And I think this is a flying bison, actually. So if you watch Avatar, you'll know from the first episode what that is. It's a great show. It's a good show. Good for kids, good for adults, good for people that want to learn about martial arts, good for people that like to learn about different cultures. I like it. I will see you guys in a couple days, 2 days, and have a good rest of your Tuesday. Bye.